Hey everyone, so today we're talking about putting young babies down for sleeps. Typically young babies like to sleep on us and they need a lot of help to get to sleep. So I'm going to give you 5 tips about putting babies down and when you can do that and how you can do that. So first of all, the first thing to understand is that they do need your help to begin with. Young babies don't know how to put themselves to sleep. And let's face it, they've just spent all that time in mummy's tummy, warm, cozy, lulled off to sleep with motion and white noise. To be put down is going to feel very strange. So we don't expect to be able to put them down and then put themselves to sleep. It's just, that's too big a challenge for them. They'll get there in time, but initially they are going to need your help. And I think the number one thing is to know that, to recognize that, to understand that that is quite normal. That is the way it is. The help that you give them is going to be necessary for at least the first few months, at least sort of 2-3 months, sometimes longer. The second thing is you can't actually create any long-standing, irreversible bad habits in those early few months. So please don't feel like if you do rock your baby to sleep, for instance, that's going to be a habit that sticks and you're going to make a rod for your own back. There's lots of talk around about that kind of thing. And yes, whilst that's true, it's not true in those early few months. You have still plenty of time to move on from those habits into more long-term habits between sort of 4 and 6 months. You don't need to worry about that in the first few months. So don't feel guilty. Do whatever works guilt-free in those early months. My third tip for you today is all about practice. Practice is beneficial, but it's just practice. So that means if you're going to put your baby down in their own sleep space, in their cot or their crib or their carry cot or whatever, it's okay to practice doing that and give them practice time in that space, even if it's just for 1 or 2 minutes a day. And it might feel pointless and you might think, what's the point in that? I have to pick them up anyway and end up rocking them to sleep, so what's the point? I promise you there is a point, and it will come up later on, it will show up later on that practice has paid off. So whilst you might think, well, I put them down, I pick them up, I put them down, I pick them up, I end up rocking them off to sleep, so why go through it? Those little exposures to their own sleep space will add up. They will help them to start to get more and more experience, more and more comfortable with that environment. If they're never in the environment, then when you do introduce them to it, then it's going to be very strange. So those few minutes every so often really do help. So practice is great. And you can practice as early on as you like, as long as you're not expecting your baby to actually fall asleep there, because it's unlikely to begin with that they will. But more and more practice and you'll get there eventually. My 4th tip for you today is that from around 4 months on, you can start to extend that practice. So you can go from just a bit of practice to actually staying with them and giving them a few minutes, and they might fuss a little bit or feel a bit, unsure, but with your support and encouragement and your soothing, then you're going to help them extend and just kind of get over a little bit of that initial discomfort with their sleep space and start to get more and more familiar with it. So you can extend the practice into just a little bit more help and edging them on as they become ready. The 5th thing I want to share with you today is to aim to be doing things by about 6 months roughly, the way you'd like to be doing them long term. So as I said initially, those first few months, don't worry, no habit can be a bad habit, you can change it. But try to change it when you're getting to that 6-month mark, or at least at 6 months, because around 6 months things start to stick. The things you're doing start to set in and become more ingrained, and then they are a little trickier to undo. They can still be undone, but they become trickier. So it's actually easier if you approach that somewhere between the 4 and 6 month mark, or at 6 months if 4 and 5 months is a bit tricky, which it can be for many babies. So when you get to 6 months, just ask yourself, what am I doing? How does my baby get to sleep? Is this sustainable long term? And that's the time to really start to get things into a good place that you can do for the long term. So there you go, that's 5 things for you to think about today, all about putting your baby down for a sleep.